What is happening, Tim? So you just come home from work, rushed through to meet me, and I appreciate it. But we were just talking before next week's show starting at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, just a little bit later. A little bit later for our friends out west and for the central folks. Late start for the East Coast guys, but it'll be a little bit easier on me fighting traffic getting home from work. And sounds like a little bit easier for you as well since you don't got the kiddos going to school in the morning.
I don't, and now our dinner is usually way later as a result of that because nobody kind of gets moving in our house. I think my son doesn't actually get out of bed until like noon most days, unless we made him like today mow the lawn. But talking about getting up and getting ready. I mean, what is going on with this league? There is just games everywhere. I mean, that Yeti game was absolutely nuts, and it looks like as I'm looking through the scores, all the other games were pretty some close games, some big scores, but I mean, pretty much what I think most people expected. No big upsets yet.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it a big upset, but the rivalry lives between the Nor'easters and Maine. There's always that one or two surprises early in the year, and then yeah, some blowouts, some huge wins. I think Thousand Island scored what 28, 29 in their last game
29
against.
on the Yeti, and they had 9 goals. Yeah, I mean, when you talk about just a definitely, and I guess the first quarter was all right, and then they just kind of walked away with it.
Yeah, which I mean, if I know Nate, they're out for blood, so they wanna go on a warpath all year till nationals, and then obviously upset Westminster or whoever they play
Well,
for
you
nationals.
also you can't let off at all though because sometimes these come down to goal differentials. There's all kinds of little things that could really affect it. So you don't you never want to be the team that like, you lost by a goal and you're like, "Oh man, we kind of let up a little bit there. We're playing around with the ball." So, yeah, definitely I think everybody's got their feet on the gas. And as I look through the league, I mean, the Wild still looking like they do what they do.
Yeah, the Wild are the Wild. I mean, you said it best. They're there at the top until someone proves us otherwise. I'd love to see it happen in the Metro, just to give a little motivation to the other Metro teams. But between you, me, and the listeners, I think that's probably not going to happen. It'll probably be somebody. Although I didn't see that 16-14. That's a little bit closer game usually for the Wild. So who knows? Maybe the Golden Bears are going to chip away at them. And then yeah, a lot of close games, couple blowouts here and there. But it's just good to see the league. We're finally rocking and rolling. Everywhere's playing. I think my region is probably the last region to get going, which we're going off in the next 2 weeks or so. But yeah, it's just good to kind of see games going. You got the Dogfish and the Rebels got their first wins in their NABLL history. Some good wins in the Midwest there. And then yeah, just everybody else is just cooking with gas right now.
Yeah, no, everything is flying. So the hooligans, you look at the 4-7, but no. So I mean, as I was looking through it, I love every time I look at this. I really like how the four teams play at the Columbia Ice Rink. The way they do it, everybody gets to watch each other. They're a very that arrows cannons game. A 1 goal game, and then yeah, that's it. That's always an interesting. It's an interesting division because I got to meet a kid who actually played for Scott, but now he's up in Tusky playing.
Yeah, oh yeah, you mentioned that last week. Yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, it's just crazy to look at it, and I think he should be playing for the Yeti while he's up here, but unfortunately, he's kind of busy with the junior B team, so I get it. But yeah, no, like the Northmen. So Maine didn't come out of the Massachusetts one last year, and like you said, that entire division, there's so much parity in that league. I don't. I mean, that's a very high scoring game, a little higher scoring than I guess I would have expected, but yeah, I don't consider a 2 goal win by the Nor'easters a big upset. But that Dogfish and Blue Shirts game, that's really cool because then when you look at the next one, they end up winning by 5 goals, and that's just a day apart, and it's actually the day after. So kudos to the Dogfish after losing by 5 goals, coming back and winning by 2. That's a big deal.
yeah, that's a big deal for them, especially after traveling up to Minnesota and losing to the Isotopes. Which have you seen the Dogfish's new arena? It's gorgeous.
I
I
talked
don't
to
know.
those guys. No, they said yeah, those guys have all kinds of. So that's what that I'm on ice arena is.
Yeah, it's the perfect like box arena. Like it's kind of what when you look at like Six Nations, um, or like Whitby up north. Like it's the perfect like 3 to 5 thousand seat arena. Didn't look like they had a ton of fans just yet. It was their first time there. But that's something I think a lot of teams can kind of hope for. It's kind of what Maine has going for them.
The
Where the
Yeti
Yeti has,
gotta got yeah.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
I'm interested to see. I didn't make it to that Seneca Serpents game yet, but they play for I think where Hobart College plays hockey, so that's probably right around the same
Oh yeah.
level.
Yeah, that place actually did look good. I think I saw some pictures from when Thousand Islands played up there. I mean, that's just another evolution of the league as teams are playing in bigger arenas. When the Seneca Thousand Island game, it looked like there was a lot of people at that game too, so they're filling some seats. Which I mean, fans watching the game, that's even better. That live environment. That's one thing that I think some teams, my team especially, we're kind of missing that fan environment, that next pro step to get people coming out the games. So
Well, that's one thing that the Yeti and like this Yeti Spirits game, there was 500 people at the Serpents Yetis game. I'm willing to bet we're going to be closer to 700 when you talk about the Spirits because of how many people the Spirits. I mean, you saw how they traveled to nationals. That Thousand
yeah,
Islands team, they're all in. I honestly think we're going to be closer to 700 in the Nexus, maybe even a little more because of how good the game was. Somebody might tell somebody because now they're starting to we're getting a steady rotation of people who aren't really related to any of the Yetis, but there's probably 5 or 6 different families that come in easily every time, and it's just growing every time. I mean, so yeah, 500 people. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you really think about like how many people they're starting to bring in, it's a pretty cool thing. And he's doing live music. They turn it into a big show, so I'm
yeah,
excited.
yeah, and I mean that's one of the reasons why we picked the Nexus Center. I know travel, everyone will grab about travel here and there. I mean, no matter where we pick, but we picked it for we had that lack of fan exposure last year in Chicago. I mean, Thousand Islands traveled well. A few other teams brought a lot of friends and family,
Well,
but
not just that. So they didn't have the bar, which for somebody like me who's basically working for the whole event, having that bar food area upstairs near where I was, I get to meet so many more people because they don't have to leave immediately to go. And it
Mhm.
puts us more of like in an accessible area where guys can come. We have USB sticks we can give out to any team that wants it. You plug it right into your cell phone, and unless you got an iPhone that's not USB-C. But any of the new iPhones, any Android phone, you just plug it right in. You can watch your game's highlights. We are going to be all set up so we can just rip those right off. I've got some real cheap 2023 burned ones already done that I forgot to give out last year. So if anybody wants one of those, I'll be pretty much giving them away. I'll put your thing on. But we're gonna have some 2024 ones. I'm excited about it. But then no, I think that atmosphere, the Utica Club Lounge, and that's going to be huge for the NABLL Nationals because I know I really missed that from the first year where we were basically in the bar lounge area. I know we won't be quite that close, but that was really cool for us.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of the celebration of the league. We didn't have that last year. We had that first year in that mezzanine area. Was after games, guys are getting beers together. They're throwing sticks, throwing maybe a few punches here or there in the corners. And then after the game, you go get a beer with the guy, and you're just talking, getting to know each other, and that's the celebration of the league we want around nationals. But then also when you talk about that common fan experience, those later games, those medal round games, just like Laz and I are, when Worlds is going to be up there, having that common fan, having that fan atmosphere, playing in front of people. That's what people want out of this league, and that's what we want to grow the league into.
Absolutely, and that's the nice thing about Utica is Paul's doing a great job building the fan base. And I mean, you definitely at nationals you're gonna get some teams that travel. The one nice thing is when you consider the regions there, even if your team maybe doesn't make it, it's drivable for at least what 3 divisions, 4 divisions, probably.
Probably, yeah, at least three. If I mean, you could make the argument for four or five.
So I would say New England, Metro, Upstate obviously is Upstate, but that Philly, or what's the next one down? That Mid
uh,
Atlantic that's a bit of a stretch, but
Atlantic and the Great Lakes, bit of a stretch. That's a long drive. So I mean, the common fan isn't going to make that drive. But just lacrosse is such a hotbed up there. Being able to pick up the common fans from other teams, players coming out and watching and kind of scouting and kind of learning from the experience themselves. It'll just be a nice celebration of the league all in one spot.
I also think a big thing with having the Serpents is like you've got upstate covered, but New York State is actually so much bigger than most people think. So Rochester
Yeah.
is 2 hours, and then Buffalo's another 2 hours past that. So I mean, easily, I think as you're starting to get more guys, it depends. The divisions are each different, but a 12 game season versus a 30 game season. You're getting some of the older Can-Am guys that are like, ooh, this NABLL seems a little bit more my speed, you know. And some places are playing just one game a weekend, some are doing double headers. It's interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of growth. I think you guys absolutely nailed it with Utica. It's perfect for me, but I mean that goes without saying.
Well, we did owe the East Coast a trip, and I mean that place is. I mean, we could talk about the Nexus Center all night. The place
Well,
is
I mean,
gorgeous.
you kind of have to. Worlds is there, everything's there this year. But what I was looking through here is so when you look through like some of these games, there is that Ohio Lacrosse Club, and the Hooligans had one that was a 2 to 12 game, but then they had another one that was very close. I thought I just lost it, but
Yeah, they did. I think the Steamboats they got their first win in the league against Ohio as well, and then they played Detroit pretty close. I think it was like a 3-goal game.
yeah. Then
Uh,
the
yeah,
Isotopes Rebels game. When you look at that, though, I mean, 11-10. That's a great game to come down to the ending. And even some of these can be a little misleading. So you look at a couple of these games that you watch, and really, if you get 3 or 4 goals late after, like, hey, we're gonna pull the goalie now, shit, they got an empty netter.
yeah,
Oh, now I mean, and you're doing different things trying to get that goal that you wouldn't necessarily. I would imagine a lot of these games are a lot more like that. So it looks like Seattle is still kind of doing their thing over there, and
yeah,
just kind of running away with it. But the Northmen and the Rampage, 27 goals. That's a lot of offense.
yeah. A lot of I watched that game, and then I actually watched the main
That was
Nor'easter game too.
Yeah, well, I
And
mean that was early too in the year. So I mean, you look at that one, that's a 15th. I'm going backwards through it. I should have actually started at the bottom and wheeled up to the top, but it
you're good.
can't be good
But I
at
mean,
all of it.
you mentioned that empty netter going back to the Nor'easter Maine game. Maine had a 3 or 4 goal lead late in the game, and the Nor'easters made a comeback. They're winning by 1, and then Maine pulled the goalie, I think twice. So it was a 2-goal game, 3-goal game, but it was actually a 1-goal game till about a minute left or less than a minute left. So that region, we could talk about that region too. That region's fully up for grabs right now.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, when you look through here, you just kind of look at the points leaders and Kyle Baker. That 27 goal game, I got to look and see how many goals he had in that game too. That's got to be nuts.
Probably a lot. The last time I talked to Kyle, he's not concerned with the goals. He said he's concerned with the points. So that's the true captain speak right there. He just wants the point title. That's all he wants for this year. He's not. I mean, he's leading the goals right now, but I'd imagine as they play more games, his points are just going to keep going up, and his goals may go down a little bit.
Yeah, that Nick James. So when the first time we watched him was the first year in the NABLL, he's pretty young. He's got to be. I bet you he's a beast right now as he's growing up. He's got to be getting pretty phenomenal, and that's the thing. You're starting to see a lot of these teams getting 3 to 4. So I was really surprised with the Yeti had some of their new guys getting on the board. I did not expect some of their new talent to kind of be as effective as they were, but I think transition speed, certain athleticism. The one kid's like as tall as you and just kind of like reached way up and like grabbed a ball and spun around, and that one highlight was insane. I've been putting them on the Yeti channel, but yeah, I'm impressed with the young players, so I really like going to these and watching the guys that you are starting to see kind of age into it. And we've got the Fresh Prince of Rockland County, Will Smith, on the bottom of the board, but just making it for the points and the goals. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, well, the Wild need to replace Tinney, so they need to replace a lot of goals. And I mean, it's surprised not to see Spence up there, though he was a league MVP last year. So they got to find someone to fill that void, and it looks like Will Smith's gonna take that title for him.
Yeah, I'm sure he's hoping to, but the it'll be interesting to see if Tinney doesn't come back. I've heard he's one of these guys who's retired a couple times and then doesn't
He
always
has,
stay away from the game.
he has. I mean, he told me he was done with lacrosse 2019, 2020, and then I blink, and then he's playing again, and then he's in the league, and he's at national scoring goals left and right. So yeah, we'll probably see Tinney at least one more time. I'd bet on it.
Yeah. And so it was actually really cool to see Crosby. He's GM now for the Serpents. I didn't actually get a chance to talk to him, but it was good to see what they're doing. They've got a bunch of guys. That's a legit team. They got some guys that maybe get a little carried away, but that's neither here nor there. Every team, yeah, that's up for them.
When your GM is a decent goalie, I mean, I'm sure the Yeti are missing Crosby right now, but when your GM is a pretty decent goalie, it's a pretty solid team to build around. And then did you see that save of his? Or I think you posted that save where he was
It,
on his head,
Yeah,
literally.
I've got quite a few of them in that highlight reel of Fraz that are just insane. Unfortunately for us, we don't have a ton of time right now. We've just been going nuts to go through the highlight reel footage. But there's actually two of them. So there's one where he makes the big save on his head, and the other one he rolls over and he like just punches it out. And I don't know if it's just the top of his glove or if it's the stick and the top of his glove. But the angle at the Nexus Center with the camera for those goalies is like perfect on that right side. We
Yeah.
just get such awesome highlights, and he had some phenomenal saves. I do have to try to crop them out and give them to him. But yeah, no, it was it, it's just nice to see that when the Eels departed, yes, a bunch of the Eels went there, but there's a lot of new faces on that team. I did not know a lot of those guys. There was not nearly as many Eels as I thought. It seems like a pretty new group of guys.
I mean, that's credit to Paul. I mean, they've almost kind of been bitten by the expansion bug. I mean, Thousand Islands joined, and then they've lost a chunk of guys from Thousand Islands. You got guys like Jobson, Cook, a couple other guys. I'm sure Seneca. There's a couple guys driving from out there playing for him. So I mean, that's just a credit to Paul and that team that they're just reloading with talent in the area and then coaching the guys up from the youth level and then bringing them into the adult league.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think where you're really going to start to see them shine is like now they've got a couple guys that so they go to Herkimer and they play, and then you've got some of these youth guys. There's the one kid just graduated from one of their local high schools, Rome. That's the kid I was saying is probably as tall as you. So it was really cool. Like I love watching Paul because he's been watching some of these kids since they were like, first picked up a lacrosse stick. So when you see a kid like that score his first goal ever as a Yeti, they yeah, that's a big deal for those guys.
Yeah, and that's a big deal for the league too, because I mean, the league is going to be around for a while, and we need those younger players to start filling those shoes and start developing and scoring goals, and they'll bring bigger eyes onto the league, and hopefully we can kind of push those guys down the road a little bit. That's the goal.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I guess we should say we are a little underprepared for this. I was kind of hoping Scott was going to join us, but he is in England coaching. So, I mean, with the time difference and everything, it didn't quite work out. But did we ever figure out how many coaches and people, that are affiliated with the league are coaching in other, like on the world teams at some level?
I mean, it's double digits. We were trying to take a roll call last night actually on our board meeting, and we started to lose track in the double digits. So I mean, it's going to be a lot when you talk about like the league being represented at Worlds. I mean, Scott's helping with the women's game. I know Kyle Baker unfortunately didn't make Team USA, but he actually got invited to play with Belgium or Germany. Belgium. He got invited to play with Belgium. Um, I think Alex Pang from Columbus is playing for somebody. Um, there's somebody on Ireland. There's somebody on Finland. There's somebody on Sweden. I mean, you got Tony Gray coaching Team Mexico, and there's I think 5 or 7 guys playing for Team Mexico. So I mean, yeah, it's too hard to count right now.
Yeah.
But who is it on the Yeti? Who is
Virgin Islands and Neil. So you've got
yeah,
Neil with the Netherlands, and then you've got Suits is playing Virgin Islands.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, the depth that's going to be at nationals from the league is going to be probably almost uncountable. I mean, well, it's easily countable, but it'll be a very long spreadsheet. Let's put it that way.
It's not countable by guys like us who are trying to put it together, and then we always forget guys and add guys. But it would be nice if every GM was able to throw it out there. That would be helpful. But as we look through this, I mean, the Spirits in the Wild looks like everybody's on track to do what they did last year.
Yeah, I mean, those two are going to be the front runners for the league. I mean, without question, especially as they're winning games the way they are. Wild put up, I think, 30 their first game. Spirits just put up 29. So I mean, those two are just basically on a collision course to run into each other at nationals. Maybe we'll put them together in group play. Who knows? We'll find out. Which I do have a correction from last week. We technically owe the Wheat Kings an apology. The bet was not who finished the best at nationals. The bet was who won the Kings pool at first nationals, and it was because it was Collar City, Seattle, Wheat Kings. So technically, Seattle made it further, but the Wheat Kings won that pool. So technically, the Wheat Kings own the Kings name. So my bad, Minbo and the Kings boys. But um,
I pretty much actually just let that one rock out. I did know that, but I just love Midbow's Instagram and social media game. I think anybody who's starting a team, if you're not following the Wheat Kings, you're doing something wrong because you need to. He does a lot of Very he's great at creating social media content. He's engaging. I love their theme nights that they do. He does a great job, that whole program out there. We're gonna
Mhm.
try to get some more of the newer teams, like the hooligans. I'd love to be able to talk to them. I'd like to get some of these teams that maybe haven't been to nationals but have been in the league for a couple of years too. I think that would be awesome. If any of the teams have a youth program affiliated with them, please reach out and tell us. We'd love to get somebody from your youth program as well as your seniors. Because, like, I think the Yetis program that's in Seattle, I believe they're like that. I got to reach out and get a hold of them.
Yeah, they have a younger program. I believe the Oak Oak City and Maine actually just played a juniors game this past weekend.
Yeah.
So I
I,
mean, there's talent at the youth level, and it's good to see teams kind of growing their brand and growing that sport at the youth level as well.
that Paper City Oaks team, so I expect them to they're good now. In a few years, you're really going to see that. And I think that whole New England division, though, just the way they're growing it with the age of the players they've got, and it's going to be crazy. If you're fielding a full team of 18 to 21-year-old young men, if you keep a quarter of them, so you
Oh,
talk that's 5 guys a year. It doesn't take very long before you're having to make some tough decisions.
oh yeah. I mean, it's almost like, for older guys like us, it's almost like a damned if you do, damned if you don't, because you need that new blood to kind of grow the program. But then you got those young bloods coming in. They want their game time. They want to play, and they're good enough to play. And then you got to make some tough decisions from some of the old heads of like, do I go with the young guy? Do I go with the old guy? Where does youth beat experience, and where does experience beat youth?
Yeah, no, and I love how you guys talk about maybe being able to branch it out to do two kind of a senior A and a senior B style.
Yeah, I mean that's the goal. I mean, I don't think we're there just yet, but I mean some of those deeper divisions like the Northeast, upstate, I could see us having kind of a senior B, or even if like you want to call it senior C, whatever. And then also having those youth teams, and then also having women's teams as well. I don't know if you saw that post today on the page, but we're doing a women's open invitational for at the same time as our nationals tournament. So we're hoping to get a few more, adult women's teams at nationals just to kind of showcase their talents, their development. Hopefully, some of the girls that are getting ready for the world championships as well.
Yeah, no, I did, and that's what I was going to ask. So you guys had tried to do this before, and you kind of didn't end up with the pretty much enough people showing up. So I mean, you definitely got the interest now. I would imagine with the worlds there, you guys probably got a lot of teams trying to get in and get some time.
Yeah, I think it was unfortunately just kind of fell late on the timetable by the time we started putting it together the last time we wanted to do a women's tournament. We had a lot of free agents reach out, but we didn't have a lot of teams reach out, mostly because it was just short notice. I think we gave them, I want to say, like 3 to 4 weeks. So this year, this has always been on the docket. We've been talking about it since probably February. We wanted to get the season up and rolling and get the dominoes falling for the men's, and the bread and butter of the league, but we wanted to announce it far enough out in advance so that way we could get teams. And also being on the East Coast, there's a lot more newer women's teams out there, and then hopefully we can get a few teams to travel in from the Midwest or out west.
Yeah, plus I mean, Utica's not that far from Canada, and it's not that far from specifically Ontario, which I mean they've got a couple of lacrosse teams.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's not an official league or anything like that, but we want to start open that door so that way we can kind of bridge that gap. And if teams have women playing for them, which I know we have a handful of women in the league already, or teams who have those development programs, I want to say there's 1 or 2 teams in Minnesota. There's 1 or 2 teams out west, out in Seattle by Dave, and then there's a lot of teams on the East Coast as well. So the goal is to just kind of show them that they're welcome, show them that they're part of the league, they're part of the game, and then obviously open that door for them to be right next to our national championship.
Well, it's like anything though. You're not going to have, you need a local program to be able to compete against itself. And then, so I mean, until you have those, these are the only kind of tournaments that you can have. So, like, you have
Yeah.
this team, and then all of a sudden, okay, hey, we're close enough to drive. These guys have one. You add one. It's tough because when you really think, so I was trying to explain the NABLL to a couple of the guys from Six Nations because they watched the Yeti game. So he was like, "What level?" That is one huge thing about us going up to Six Nations and streaming a couple games up there is now
Mhm.
all of a sudden all those fans are watching our games and we're like, what is this NABLL? So I was trying to explain to him. I was like, every division is basically its own league, and then you go to nationals and you compete under the NLL rules. Essentially, is kind of how it is. Uh, it was my best way at explaining it, but that I think is such a huge asset for the league, is it allows these divisions to kind of do their own thing and decide how they're going to play. Because a lot of teams like home and home, you got the other programs like the Mid Atlantic, everybody plays. Some teams are driving. It looks like the Dogfish are kind of sometimes they're playing two different teams, sometimes they're just traveling and playing one, or people are traveling out. It's an interesting mix how it all breaks down.
Well, we have to. I mean, that's just the sad truth of the league, if you will. You have upstate or even where lacrosse is big enough, all those teams are close enough they can play a true traditional regular season where you're playing one game on Friday night, and you're doing home and homes and the traditional pro style. But I mean, we have regions where teams are 6-7 hours apart, or they got to fly to each other. I mean, New Orleans to Dallas is a haul. Um, Previously in years past, my team was in the same division as Raleigh and Charlotte. We're 6 hours and 8 hours from them. So we have to allow teams to play in what works for them, because it's just not doable in the current state as it is. It's a pay to play league, and teams can't afford charter buses or flights or anything like that year round, or at least all summer long. So we got to do what we can so that teams have the ability to play, teams have the ability to get guys, and it just creates a more fun environment that way, because the upstate teams, they obviously have the fan bases, they have the facilities to play home and homes, but down here in the South or in the Midwest, they don't have that. We don't have that. So sometimes you're playing at a neutral site, but however you get the games in, you get the games in.
Yeah, absolutely. And the like you said, the Midwest is a little different with the Wheat Kings and the Isotopes, and just so they had what the local news broadcast one of their games, so they're able to kind of make a big production out there too, which is something not every team gets. And that's really the facility seems to be where the hotbeds are created. If you build them, they will come. If you get guys that as soon as they find, because uh, just talking to those Iowa guys, they have so many hockey rinks that they don't struggle for that. It makes things so much easier for them versus, somebody who's got nothing, and then you've got maybe one hockey rink and they don't ever want to take the ice out or throw turf down.
Yeah, I mean that's how we are in Nashville. I mean I'm a Preds fan, but I'm also not a Preds fan because their success has led to hockey being so popular down here that none of the rinks want to melt their ice. So we got to play outdoors. We got to play, in a roller hockey rink that's outside instead of a nice air conditioned arena. But I mean, you nailed it. If you build it, they will come. I mean, you look at the places that have facilities. You look at the places that can practice on a regular basis or get their like local leagues up and running. Those are the hotbeds. Those are the teams that are starting to blossom faster than the others. Because I really think box has kind of almost outgrown itself. I mean, you look at these teams. They can play year round sometimes, and then you got other places where it's a short pocket of the year that you can play. Was this weekend or was this last weekend?
I think this is I'm just going through the NABLL Instagram post.
Uh,
So this was that was that. Sorry, I get a little distracted sometimes, then I'll just sit there and stare at highlights forever. But no, it it's crazy to me to watch the Northman. Is what really got me looking at that post. Is you look at it and on the right on the concrete, it's the Northman. There's nobody else's logo on there. That is the premier team in that building.
yeah,
It's pretty cool.
yeah. Kyle said they rent that out for the whole summer. They got local high school leagues. They got a locker room in there. They practice once or two nights a week. That's the goal for a lot of teams, is to be able to put your logo down where you're playing, and make a stamp. This is our rink. This is our barn. I'm honestly jealous of that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's a huge deal. I saw the post on that. I think it was earlier this week, maybe it was last week, but I saw it and I didn't get a chance to shout it out, and I really wanted to because that's pretty much the envy of every team right there. I would say is you want to be the premier team, and that's one thing. So with Can-Am, those teams usually are the premier team there, but then you have the Grand River team who plays up at the ILA. There's the Six Nations Chiefs, the Arrows, the Snipers, the like everybody plays up there, and they're in a similar situation to an NABLL team where you're not the kingpin and you're kind of looking at the time and trying to schedule things, and you've got your games and you got to get your practices in. It's must be nice to schedule your own, but that's not something that just happens. I mean, how long's Kyle been running youth programs there?
Oh, 10 years probably. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I couldn't give you a real answer, but
No, yeah.
I'd guess 10 years. And yeah, just to be able to do that, like I think my rink would kick me out and never allow us back if I even put a sticker down, let alone painted a logo.
Yeah, they that's cool for them though. That is pretty impressive that they let them do it. I don't know. I think it's awesome. I think most teams would be jealous, and it's got to be fun to even just go play there and know that you're taking on the hometown team and it's like, here we go, boys.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that just adds to that excitement of the game. I mean, even to go play there, I mean, I would take it as a challenge to win a game at a place that has their logo on the floor. Like that just adds that element, kind of storm in the barn. This is ours now kind of thing. But then it also adds the element for them, to defend it.
Yeah. No, it really does. So one thing I actually was wondering about. So as we look through the leaderboards, I love the way this is broken down, but we just need to make this top little banner. I forgot to switch back so you can see what I was talking about. This top little banner right here. We just got to make this back arrow work.
I
Be,
noticed that yesterday. I think we're working on it right now. I don't know why.
because yeah, I love that it's up there, but I just wish we could go through the games like that as we're looking through the leaderboard. That would be epic. But
Yeah, I think when we updated the website, there's probably a switch that just needs to be flipped because it worked last year to be able to go back and forth. I mean, in August you could go all the way back to the beginning of the season. So
yeah,
we'll get that.
we'll get it baby steps. So how have you guys found the stats are coming in this year? Has everybody kind of got it figured out? Have they not been being submitted? Is it the same as usual?
We're probably 75% better than we were last year. There's still some teams that haven't uploaded any stats. But a lot of the GMs that have played so far, they're getting a lot better with using the website, with using the game tracker live, because it's literally on the website. You can do it on your phone, you can do it on an iPad. You can literally do it while the game is being played. If you have someone running the scoreboard, they can do it. It's literally like playing a video game. You can do it so simple. So it's better this year, but it's not at 100%, unfortunately. But I mean that's the nature of the game. Some people just don't care about stats. Some people don't want to be on the leaderboard. Some people don't. Some people just want to win their game and go home.
Yeah, no, I mean it's completely up to the teams whether or not they do it, but it's the beautiful thing about this league is the options are there, all the resources are there. You can get coaching experience, you can have live tracking stats, you can have people linked to it, you can do pretty much anything you would like. You can submit highlights to you guys to be turned in. We are going to do Blue Squatch trophies for the best goal, so make sure all entries are submitted to the NABLL on the social media. We need it to be tagged. And if that happens, we're going to give away a Blue Squatch Cup to the best goal of the year. So
We might have to start doing saves too. I mean, I've seen some good
we
saves out there as well.
I've got one for saves as well. We can actually what my plan to do is one for a goal, one for saves, and one for just your defensive play. So whether it's a highlight stick check where you send the guy's stick flying, but it was perfectly clean, or a nice clean check that you just deliver that's perfectly timed, knocks the stick out or the ball out or whatever. A trail check. So yeah, no, submit your best defensive plays, submit your best offensive plays, and saves, and we are going to make little Blue Squatch cups. Nikki Snow got the first one ever. We only made the one, and we redesigned them after that was the problem. So I made his, and I need a base that I can just put it on because we made little round cups, and then every time I wanted to put it in my laser printer to burn it, it just it's a pain in the butt. Well, no, I got to hook up. There's a spindle that you have to put on it, and then you got to measure everything, and it makes it instead of being able to do the trophies in like a day where I knock them all out and then I could just go through and put names on and burn them all. It would take like 4 hours per trophy instead of like 4 hours, and I did 10 of them.
Hmm. Makes sense. Well, I mean, just like the website, and you're building a plane while you fly it. That's all right.
Well, just like you're talking with the stats and everything else. I mean, that's the shining star of this league, like I say all the time, is I think what this league is built for is everybody is learning as we're growing, and there's always room for improvements. So like we talked last year about some of the rules that were implemented and not implemented, and the NLL rule book was the big emphasis in the ref training, and the I think overall though the website as far as what it was the first year compared to this year, anybody who's been around for 2 years knows it has come a very long ways.
Yeah, well, the leaderboards is the main thing that I like because we didn't have that the first year, and I don't think we had it up for most of the regular season last year. But now it's a regular season thing, just to get those competitive juices flying a little bit, kind of motivate the stat tracking a little bit more too.
Well, I was just going to say, more than anything, I think it will just help you'll get because now if you've got a guy on your team who's trying to make a team and he needs his stats updated. Plus, though, I mean, it's really as simple as if you guys want to be covered by guys like Stamp, he will cover leagues if he can go find the leaderboard, find your stats, and it's easily accessible versus certain leagues make it almost impossible not posting anything. But it's literally that simple that because they're in this time of year, they'll just there's so much going on with box lacrosse. They could just be like, and then there's also this one and this one. So it's
Yeah.
huge.
Well, yeah, just to be able to showcase our talent, showcase the guys in the league, um, get a little rivalry going. Maybe we get a little points race going or an arms race going. Just between guys who will never see each other on the floor, like Kyle and Will from the Westminster Wild. Other than the Nationals, they'll never see each other on the floor. So it's good to be able to compare them stats wise throughout the year, make a little arms race going.
I've got too many mute buttons now is the problem. So I've still got my lap one, and now I've got that stream deck, which we actually bought for the games. It makes things amazingly simple. So now I can clip all the replays and everything. But I was like, I don't know why I don't use this for the show. So I started hooking it up and trying to run it for this. But now I can mute myself in 4 ways, and I get a little confused sometimes. But
Too
so
many.
yeah, let's talk real quick about the Australia tour and let's burst out, what is going on with that and just kind of give a shout out for anybody who wants to know about it.
Yeah, it's still open. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. Tony's kind of taking that baby and run with it, but it's still open for guys who are interested. It's basically just a week in Australia. You play a little box. There's some free time in there to go out and explore and kind of see Australia. So it's not a waste of a trip. Not that going anywhere for box is a waste of trip, but you have your free time and say you get to play internationally, playing against the Australian team as well as some of the local teams there to kind of help grow their game and get them a little bit better. Seeing different competitions, seeing how Americans play the game. So yeah, definitely still open. I want to say registration's open all the way through the year now. We didn't get enough guys to close reservations, so there's definitely still some spots open.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it said on here 20 September 24. So
Yeah,
you've got through September and you can secure your spot with just a deposit. So we've got the Utica Yeti. Hello from the Nexus Center. I was trying to figure out what he said the first time, but now it makes a little more sense. Hello from the Nexus Center. Because
does
the
Paul
first
just live
one,
there? Does Paul
huh?
just have an apartment there?
Pretty much. He just lives there most of the season.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Perfect
he is.
date for
They just actually, it's more of a janitor's closet that they just tape him up in. So they just stand him up in the corner and kind of strap him so he doesn't fall. And yeah, it was actually cool. One of the Yeti employees, essentially of the Nexus Center, started getting on the live stream too when we were talking last night. He's really growing something special there. It's taken a while. Like I said, I can't stress enough how cool it is that when Jobson's going to bring the spirits. If you are not going to make it to the game, if you're driving distance, you need to be there. If not, everybody should be watching this because I think this is a shining example of what you can do with your teams if you want.
Yeah, I mean those guys kind of have a model that I think a lot of teams are kind of aspiring to. So for them to be able to showcase that somewhere will be really big, not just for the league, but for teams all around to just see something to kind of grow their brand too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's huge for that. But I mean, so you see like Maine's got their floor painted. These guys don't quite have it that good. They aren't. Although actually, Jobson is pretty much the premier player in their barn in the summer. You could probably get them to paint the Spirits logo on it.
On turf, maybe. I mean,
He,
that'd be cool. I could see just a giant Reaper
yeah.
hanging out.
Oh yes, so actually there's going to be a live band too. Maybe we'll try to stream a little bit of that this time. But no, they had the band last time. So the guy actually plays for the Yeti. He's going to play before the game and after the game. Last time it was a guy and his son actually played the sax for the Star Spangled Banner. And then after the game, him and his son were playing in the band. His son was playing the sax and he was playing guitar and singing. It's become quite the environment.
I need to get on that. We have a lot of musical talent down here in Nashville. I gotta see. I mean, we don't really have a bar or anything, but I gotta see if I can get a live band at our next game.
Yeah, and well, that's the beautiful thing about that Nexus Center is they've got the Utica Lounge. So I mean, and everybody check out Lax Life. That is a really cool partnership. And let's take a minute just to kind of oh shoot, of course I locked the window in place and I can't scroll down far enough. But I promise you, Lax Life is a partner and it's amazing.
Yeah, that's actually going out to all the teams. Um, full developmental folders, practice plans, game plans, wall ball, stuff for goalies. That's actually a partnership that I'm pretty excited about to take advantage of myself, but to kind of help those mid-level teams, lower level teams kind of grow the game a little bit. That's another Tony Gray find. Tony just finds the gems. But that'll be another good one for the league.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. Now I got the right thing up, but yeah, anytime you go to a website and you got to pick what country you're going to speak, usually it's pretty legit.
Yeah, or it's a scam. One of the two. There's no in
Well,
between.
you can tell because oh yeah, no, there's no American flag. It's got to be a scam. They don't understand. We don't speak British here.
We won the war for that reason, right?
That's right. All right. Well, we have done our time for this evening. It flies by. It never
We
seems to
gotta get the
fail.
power rank. We
Oh
need to do
my
the
goodness, I forgot about the power rankings. Well, I don't know. Like I said, the power rankings don't excite me anymore until we start getting into the nitty gritty because Westminster's won. And I have to see somebody beat the Spirits before I'm going to pull them out of the number 2 spots. And same with Dave, though. I mean, when you look at the way they're kind of running their league, but the Reapers moved up.
Yeah, Reapers moved up a little bit. And then I mean the Kings and the Grizzlies haven't played yet, so they still got their seasons ahead of them. You got St. Paul in the rankings for the first time. They're 3-1. Got some big wins. Nor'easter upset Maine, so they're back in the rankings. They kind of flip flop last year, so those two will always get back and forth. And then the Scorpions picked off where they left off last year. I think they went 2-0 this past weekend. So I think you're right. I think 1 through 3 will probably stay the same unless something happens crazy somewhere.
Well,
But I think
I'll be there when, if and when it does, I'll probably be there. So that one will be that won't be news to me. The number 3, I don't know if I think when you have a hot goalie, it's so I actually met a guy in the Can-Am League the other night who played with Dave over in Seattle. And then he's like, yeah, no, he's like when I was younger, I played there through high school, then he came over here for college, and now he plays for that Allegheny team which has got like 4 NLL players and former NLL, 2 NLL Hall of Famers. It's just nuts that team right now. The Allegheny Arrows. If you want to see a crazy summer team playing in Can-Am, check that out. We've been calling them the Banderos, because there's like 3 bandits on it, and they're supposed to be the Allegheny Arrows. So Charity made that up the other day. She's calling them the Banderos. I told her she should make the post and send it, but she hasn't yet.
I like it. But yeah, the power rankings. I think 4 through 10 is up for grabs. I mean,
Well,
St. Paul and Wheat Kings may have a little rivalry, and then everyone else, you never know.
well, that's what I was just gonna say. So you've got the St. Paul and the Wheat Kings, and that that's huge. But I did completely skip over the Austin team, so I must have missed that when I was looking through the scores. How are they doing down there? What's going on down there?
I think they beat Dallas pretty handily, and then I think New Orleans actually gave them a little bit of a game. I want to say it was like 2 or 3 goal game. So I mean, New Orleans was a team that was at the last IBLA Nationals. I mean, they got some good box down there, surprisingly, of all places in the world, New Orleans. But so I mean, yeah, it's anybody's ball game 4 through 10. For those Minnesota teams, they got to play. I mean, St. Paul already played Omaha and Iowa, but Wheat Kings still got to play both of them. The Isotopes are the Isotopes. I think they beat the Wheat Kings once, maybe twice last year. And they beat St. Paul last year. So I mean, that division's up for grabs as well.
Yeah, no, I think the parity in this league. So I mean, that's the beautiful thing about the sport is honestly, if you get a hot goalie, I don't care how good the other team is. If you get a goalie that can keep any team under 10 goals, and you've got enough offense to get you over that hump, you can win. I think you can't expect to beat some of these high level teams if you can't score around 10 goals, though. I think nothing replaces being able to at least get close to double digits. It's hard to
No,
win a game, with I'm not saying it can't be done, but those games are so hard to win. I mean, it really comes down to a transition player or something. I would say most of your teams that are really competitive, you've got a at least two guys on your team that it's not crazy for them to get a hat trick or a sock trick a night.
no,
Nobody's like, "Oh, it's a surprise."
we'll,
But you
we'll see.
also count on a guy or two to get a couple other goals.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you're right. 10, probably 15 is probably the magic number. If you can race to 15, you're probably doing all right. And then I mean, it also depends on travel too, especially with some of those bigger regions. Now the Minnesota team's got to travel a little bit. That's something new for them. How many guys can you get committed to travel, or who's busy, who's not busy? Is the goalie seeing the ball well that day or
How
not?
many guys can even take the day off from work? That's a big thing too. Because when you talk about an 8-hour travel to play, you've committed the whole day easily, and you're basically the next day because at that point, if you don't stay there, by the time you get home, you're so exhausted and you're physically beaten up that you need most of that next day to recover. So really, you're asking your significant other or whoever, or if you're a single guy living by yourself, you can just rock out on the couch eating ice cream and trying to heal yourself up. But if you're a guy with kids and stuff, it's pretty hard to ask for 2 days a week like that.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, there's still a lot of lacrosse to be played. Most teams have only played a couple games. So I mean, like I said, four through 10 in my mind is wide open. My team included. We got some travel trips coming up. So I mean, we'll see how it develops. And I mean, there's some close scores on the leaderboard. I mean, the fact that the Golden Bears were closer with the Yeti or with the Wild than I thought, and the Arrows beat the Golden Bears. So you never know.
Yeah, and the Arrows only beat them by one though. But no, I figured out why I didn't know about the defenders because
They
whoever
didn't do
was
that.
supposed to put that one in,
They
did
didn't do a
not.
step.
Yeah, that's all I've got to go off is that. But yeah, no, the power rankings. Like I said, I almost forgot about it, which would have been a travesty because honestly, I think you know what we should probably do before we start next week's show is just take a team on we'll just get a roulette wheel and we'll just put like one team on there and pull them off so we can start talking smack. We'll just take one off and then take somebody from the top 50 and like spin it and put them on and we'll just start switching it just to get some people talking some smack in the comments.
All right, I'm down for it. Power rankings are randomized.
About no, 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 not randomized, just one. We're gonna just say one of these teams is not like the others.
Okay, I'm fine with that too.
And then we'll have to, we'll throw in the comments who should make it into it. And also, you know what? On that note, we're going to make a BSP trophy for the best social media content of the year.
I like that. I like that.
So it either has to be the sickest edit where you've just put it together and it's super slick, or just make me laugh hysterically. If I do like comedy, so if you could make it slick and make me laugh, you've got a pretty good chance to win. But yeah, I think anybody submits your stuff to either Blue Squatch or the NABLL, and then we'll start putting it on here. We'll get comments in the on the videos to kind of let us know which ones are going, and then at the end of the day, well, I'm just gonna pick, and I might even just start picking some random ones just to get like everybody excited about it.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going favorites for that, I would say it's probably either going to be the Wheat Kings or Thousand Islands. But there's a few other teams that are starting to get better at social media, so we'll see.
Yeah, there is some teams that are starting to put out some pretty fire content with it. And I tell you, the Golden Bears, you can't sleep on them because so Tony, I know it's not Tony because Tony is not necessarily the guy you want running your social media thing. He's good, but he's
He's good.
smart enough to know he hands it off to different guys though. I talked to him the one day and he had I wish I could remember the kid's name, but he had a kid who was making all of because I was like, man, you've been on point lately. He's like, yeah, we had a kid basically who's doing it now, a young man down there, and yeah, they get some fire stuff on there. So really, I don't know if anybody could be counted out yet.
No, I mean that one's an open competition. But I mean, there's some few favorites out there, but I like the idea of a trophy for best social media, especially if you're talking about like comments and fan engagement stuff like that as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the thing is we'll have to have at least should we make it so there's at least one angry party in the content?
Absolutely.
If there's not at least one if there's not at least one person just like trash talking it, it doesn't count.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Gotta get the ball rolling.
So what's going on with the Ignite though? Where's your next games?
So we're playing Ignite smoke shows in 2 weeks, and then we're doing a giant Southeast Regionals round robin weekend in Knoxville. So Cincinnati will be down, Atlanta's coming up, the Nashville teams are driving out, Knoxville's hosting, obviously. So I don't think anyone in our region's played a game yet besides the Steamboats. So I mean, that's still to be determined. Who's the kingpin of the region this year? Obviously, hopefully the Ignite. But we're doing an inter squad scrimmage on Friday, Ignite smoke shows to kind of get a few new guys some playing experience. I'm going to take what Thousand Islands and the Yeti used to do, kind of mix the teams up, kind of go starter offense versus starter defense on one team, and then the other team, and then mix the goalies up just to get some good reps in, get some live fire action going.
Yeah, make guys kind of it's hard to simulate that action versus when you're out there playing like that and you get it going. And I mean, as we look the Mid Atlantic, I really do enjoy their schedule. How they just play. What is that? Thursdays? It's the 27th. So yeah, Thursday nights they get together. They play two games. It it's great. That Riverhawk Serpents game. So Chris Foley, that is in Oswego. Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the Nexus Center, the Tritons. So the Seattle Kings heading to do they play they don't play at the same facility though, right? Tacoma's got its own.
Yeah, Tacoma has its own setup, so they got to travel to them. I think it's an hour or two for Dave's crew.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I got what was that next weekend? Yeah, next weekend you got the Grizzlies finally starting up, and then the new team in Long Island, the Sharks, playing the Warhawks. So I mean that'll be a good game as well.
I can't wait. Junge ice rink. But yeah, no, I was excited. I didn't know about those till just recently. I actually found out I've got a buddy playing for one of the Long Island teams. I will wait. He's going to be making an appearance on one of our programs here pretty soon to talk about it. And
Yeah,
yeah, it's funny too. It's such a the lacrosse world is so small. I'm interested to watch that Oaks Nor'easters outcome too, though. That
yeah,
Oaks, they didn't have a great beginning last season either, and then they made it to nationals.
yeah. I mean we'll see, but I mean that'll be a tough battle for them. I mean I think they're 0-2 or 1-2 now. So I mean we'll see if they rebound or if maybe sophomore slump for them.
Could be, especially a little bit of a crash after going out there, but no, it keeps getting better and better. All the teams, please put your stats up there so we can go over who won and lost.
Yeah, makes
All
our
right,
job easier.
so let's do it again next week.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, we'll talk.